One, and this is my gluten-free orange almond snacking cake. So let's get on with the ingredients. 2 cups of ground almonds, 6 eggs, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 4 tablespoons of orange juice, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So those are the ingredients, so let's get started. For my first step, I'm going to take my 6 eggs and I'm going to separate them. Yolks in one bowl, whites in another bowl. So I'll do that first and then I'll come back. So I've separated my 6 yolks and my 6 whites and we're ready for our next step. So now we're going to work with our yolks. I'm going to grab my mixer and I'm just going to start whipping some air into here. Grab all of your sugar and get that right in. And put in your vanilla as well. And now I want to beat this for a good 5 minutes. I want to get this really, really creamy. So I'll keep going on this, and then I'll be back in a little while. So this is about 5 minutes later, and I'll just show you how nice our batter is. When I pull my beaters out, you can see ribbons are forming, and this is what you want. Also notice that the nice color of our batter is a lot lighter than when we started, and that's what we're looking for. So at this point, I'll get my mixer going again, and I'm going to slowly pour in our orange juice. And get all of that mixed in. And that's good. And now we're going to start folding in our ground almonds. So I'll grab the ground almonds. I'll just give a little shake. And I already sifted these earlier on, but I'll just do it again. Okay, that's perfect. I'll grab a spatula and I'm going to simply fold these in. All of those ground almonds, just slowly get them incorporated into the egg yolks and sugar. Now to lighten this batter up, we're going to now take our egg whites and we're going to whip those, and then we're going to fold the egg whites into this, and then we're going to be ready for our oven. So that's good. Now we'll get on to our egg whites. For our final step, I've got my egg whites here. Those are the 6 egg whites. I'm going to grab my mixer and I want to start mixing these up until I get stiff peaks. So I'll keep going at this and I'll be back in a couple of minutes. So this is about 1 minute later, and you can see really soft peaks are happening here. The mixture is really, really loose still, so I'll just keep going. Okay, so I've been mixing for about 3 minutes, and you can see really, really nice right now. Nice stiff peaks happening. We're going to grab our original bowl, and then I'm going to grab a little bit of our whites, and I just want to fold those in, and this is going to lighten this mixture. Now over on the side I have a 10-inch springform pan that I have lined with some parchment paper, and that's what we're going to be using today. My oven right now is preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I just want to get all of this really well combined. So just look for those little white little bitties in there. And once those are starting to really combine with the yolks, then you know that you've done a good job. And that's perfect. So now we'll get the rest of this in. And when you're at this step, or before you get to this step, you want to make sure that you have your baking tin ready to go, because you do not want to be sitting, having this sit on your counter while you're getting everything ready. You want to have everything ready because you don't want this to start deflating too much. I'll pull over my pan so you can see it here. Right here. So this is 10 inches in diameter. So I just want to start folding. Fold. So you do not want to mix this because if you put a mixer in here, you're going to deflate all of that mixture. You can see how much air is in there right now. Looks really, really good. And at this point, I'm happy. Grab my baking tin. So there we have the parchment paper in the bottom. And I'm just going to pour this right in. So when you get this into your actual baking dish or your tin, you want to get this right into the oven. You don't want to wait around. You'll notice that there's no leavening, there's no baking powder or baking soda in this recipe. All of the volume is going to come from the eggs. And you'll notice that there's no fat in here as well. We didn't use any type of oil. No oil, no butter. And that's it. Just gonna give it a little shake to get it even. And now right into my oven. My cake has been cooling now for about 15 minutes. I baked it for a total of 35 minutes at 350 degrees. And what I'm going to do now is just take a little silicone spatula, and I want to make sure that I get a clean break when I open my little ring here on my springform pan. So this is always a good idea. So just take your spatula and push it down, and that will just help out with the release once we open up the ring. And this cake smells really, really nice. I'll just make sure so you can go right around. And that's perfect like that. And then we'll just open our ring. And there we have it. And that smells awesome. So I've just zoomed in and I've dropped my camera angle just so that you can see how nice this cake is. A really nice rise on the cake. Gluten-free. There is no flour in here. No butter, no oil, and no baking powder or baking soda. Really, really nice. So at this point, the cake really needs to cool down. Once it does, we'll take a slice and then we're going to put a little bit of powdered sugar over the top just to finish it off. So now that our cake has completely cooled, we'll flip it over. And I'll just show you how easy the bottom comes off because of that parchment, and then we can just gently peel this right off. Oh, this cake is so nice. Can you hear that? Listen. So spongy. Beautiful cake. We'll flip it back over. And now we're going to cut into that. Look at that. Oh, that looks nice. So I've just zoomed in a little bit just to show you a little closer up. A beautiful cake. Remember, this is gluten-free, so there's no flour. We also have no butter and no oil in here. For an optional step, I have a little bit of powdered sugar in a little sieve. Now you just want to tap your sieve and just put a little bit over your cake. And there we have it. Perfect. So I've just zoomed in one last time, as close as I can, just to show you what this looks like. This has a really, really nice texture. I hope you try this video out. Look at that. Yum. Oh, that is so good. I hope you try this recipe out. It's really, really good. I cannot tell you how good this is. Gluten-free. Amazing. It just melts in your mouth. Really, really nice. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you wish. I really do appreciate that. So that's it, and I'll see you next time. Gluten-free. Yummy homemade French fries. And first thing what we want to do is, I'm using red potatoes here. You can use any kind of potato you want. And you're going to want to start peeling all of these potatoes. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. So get yourself a potato peeler and have fun and start peeling your potatoes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these into fries. There are no rules, just try to keep them pretty uniform. And then put them right in your bowl. Try to get my bowl on camera here. Potatoes are full of starch, so I cannot stress enough how much you should rinse these before they go into the deep fryer. Otherwise they will stick. The other important thing too is you should dry them off with paper towel or just a regular dish towel that you have in your kitchen before they actually go into the fryer, because water and oil do not mix well. And you'll get little, you'll get spatter from the oil if the potatoes are too wet. Now what I like to do when I do my fries is get them into cold water and leave them there for a good 10 minutes. And I'll rinse the water inside this bowl 3 or 4 or 5 times. It's amazing how much starch just keeps coming out of the potatoes. Making French fries is pretty easy, but some people have never done it before, and so they don't know how to do it. So I thought maybe it would be a good recipe or a good little tutorial video to make. There we go. So now I've got all of my fries cut, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take them to the sink and I'm going to rinse them with cold water, and I'm going to let them sit for about 10 minutes. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to get your potatoes and get them into a bowl and rinse them well. I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but you can see the starch coming to the surface. You'll know it's starch because the water becomes cloudy. The more that you get off the fries, the better they're going to separate in the actual fryer. So I like to get, it was my first rinse. Take your hands, don't be shy, and get them in there and move them around. You can already see the water is a lot much more clear. So that'll be my third rinse, and I'm just going to leave the fries in there for a good 10 minutes now, and then I'll empty it off, and then we're going to be ready to go to the fryer. Okay, so here's the next step. What I've done is I've just taken a baking sheet. I've taken a brown paper bag that you get at the grocery store, and I've got my French fries all ready to go. You can pat them down
just put them on a towel and pat them down. They don't have to be absolutely dry, but you just want to get most of the moisture off of them. I have my thermometer here set to 375 degrees. Once we put these in, that temperature will drop, and you actually want that because if these fry at 375 constantly, they will get too brown and they will still be a little raw. So don't worry about the actual temperature after you drop them in. You want to keep it around 340, 350. So I've got mine set here. I'm going to pop it out now, and that's very hot. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place these gently into the oil. Now you can use a spatula, which is better than this, or you can do it by hand. You can take them and just gently drop them in. A spatula is good, or if you have one of these other utensils, the spiders that they use in the restaurants, those are great to use as well. Be very careful. You want to keep an eye on your oil. You don't want it to go over. So if you see that it's starting to get a little bit, too much at the top, just slow down on adding your potatoes. One thing you never want to do is dump them all in at once, because it will go over. Those bubbles are because of the moisture that is in the potato. If you want to put more in at one time, what you can do is you can use a spatula, put 5 or 6 on it, drop it in, and then slowly pull it out, drop it in until the moisture has been eaten up by the heat of the oil. And then you're allowed, then you could drop them in. Okay, we're back. And these French fries have been in now for 12 minutes. And I'll just show you what they look like. They're nice and golden brown. So I'll just back off the camera so you can see me putting them onto the brown paper bag so that we can drain them. Alright, so let's just get them onto the brown paper bag. These bags are great because they really absorb the excess oil that are on the fries. If you've never made homemade French fries before, you're in for a treat. They are really, really good. And what I like to do is I like to get my salt shaker and get some salt onto these right away. Getting the salt on now makes them stick better. And that's it. Golden, beautiful, yummy French fries. I wish we had smell-o-vision, because these things smell amazing and they taste even better than they look. I really want you to try this recipe. Try making French fries at home and let me know how they turned out. One great thing about making French fries is that you can reuse that oil. So after you've done your French fries for the night for you and your family or friends, let the oil cool and then put it into a container, and you can either put it in the fridge or put it in your pantry. Some people do that. It's up to you, and you can reuse that oil many times before it actually gets old. Anyway, there we go. Homemade French fries. Oh man, that's good. I wish you could taste that. Till next time, bye for now.
off with 6 cups of all-purpose flour right into our KitchenAid mixing bowl. To that, I'm going to add in 6 teaspoons of granulated sugar. That's equal to 2 tablespoons. 1 teaspoon of salt. And then 1 teaspoon of quick rising yeast right in there. Just before we add in our final ingredients, I just want to give this a little stir. I just want to get everything mixed up well here. And that's good. To that, I'm going to add in my oil. I am using vegetable oil, but you can use olive oil or canola oil if you wish. I'm going to bring my KitchenAid mixer over. I'm going to set up my bowl. I'll be back in 1 second. Get on the dough hook. Lock that into place. That's good. I'm going to grab my water. This water is at 120 degrees Fahrenheit. This is 2 cups of water. I'm going to pour that in there and get my mixer going on speed number 2. I'm going to lift my bowl into place, and here we go. I just want to get this all mixed up until it starts forming a dough ball. So this is about 3 minutes later. I'm just going to lift up the security cage. I've just moved my mixer over so that you can see the dough ball. It has just started to form that dough ball. And at this point now, I'm going to let my mixer go speed number 2 for a full 6 minutes. So I'm going to put my timer on, 6 minutes, I'll come back, and then I'm going to show you our really nice dough. So my timer just went off, and that's a full 6 minutes. So I'll shut off my KitchenAid mixer. I'm going to drop my bowl, lift up the security cage. This is a brand new KitchenAid commercial mixer, by the way. I'm just going to remove the dough. We'll just get this out, and I'll show you how nice this is. I want to just show you what that looks like inside. So you just get it all into a ball, and pop it out, and there we have it. So hopefully the camera is picking up how nice this dough is. Can you see how pliable? Really, really nice dough. I like to just mix it around a little bit. And then, once I've got this big ball here, I'm going to just by eye break this down into my 4 doughs. And if you want to make smaller pizzas, you can make 5 or 6. Really depends on what you want. I'm going to break these down. And then I'll use my kitchen scale to make all of the pizza dough balls of equal size. So we're at 365. So you can see what I'm doing is I'm just slowly equaling out all of these dough balls. 373. Close enough. There we have it. So now I've got 4 equal sized dough balls. Just quickly take all those little pieces that you cut off and put back in. Just get them all right to the middle. Just make yourself a nice little snowball shape. So push, bring in the edges. And then we're going to let these sit and rest. So what I like to do is I like to have all of these sit on the counter for about an hour and a half in oiled containers, and then they go into the fridge overnight, and then I'll use 1 or 2 or 3 of them the next day. And what that does, it gives the dough balls time to really get a lot of flavor. So that slow ferment, what it does is it just gets all kinds of flavor into the dough balls. If you let these sit in the fridge for 2 or 3 days, you actually get a really nice sourdough kind of taste to your pizza. Really, really amazing. So I'm going to do this with all 4 pizza dough balls, but I'll show you what I do just with one. I'll take a container like this. I'm using a Rubbermaid take-along. It's a large one. I'll grab a little bit of vegetable spray, and I just want to spray the inside of the container.
Once it's sprayed, I just take that dough ball and just place it in there, and now I'm going to spray the top as well. This keeps the dough ball nice and moist and allows it to expand and grow without drying out. And that's very, very important. I'll grab a lid and pop that on there. And that's it. So I'm going to do the same thing with these dough balls, and I'll come back in 1 second. So I finished off those two, and I'll get this one on, and now they are all ready to go. So I'm going to put these into the fridge later on, but I want to let them sit here on my counter at room temperature for a good 90 minutes. This is going to allow the yeast to really start growing and activating, and then our dough balls are going to start getting larger in size. And from time to time, you'll actually see your lids pop off. You'll be doing something, and all of a sudden the lid will go pop, and you'll go, "What's that?" And then you realize that it's your dough. So all you need to do is just take your hand and just push the dough back down, and then put the lid on, and then you can just pop those into the fridge for the next day. So if you want to use your pizza dough the same night that you made it, you're just going to leave it like this, like you saw me do. You're going to oil it down to keep the dough moist, and then you can use it an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours later. It doesn't really matter. The important thing to do, grease your pizza pan, take your dough ball, place the dough ball in the middle of your pizza pan, and then just start pressing it out. You don't want to start playing with the dough too much. You just want to get it into the middle of your pizza pan and then spread it out, and it's ready to go. About 12 minutes, 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're going to have a really nice pizza. These here, 14-inch pizzas. If you want them a little thinner, you could go 16 inches in diameter. I'm not going to show you a finished product in this video. I have dozens of pizza videos already on the internet, so you could check out one of those. I guess I'll put a link down in the description box if you want to see one of these doughs being used in another video where I show actually making the pizza right to the end, you know, with pictures, etc. So that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you wish. I really do appreciate that. That's it, and I'll see you next time. On screen just after we start the video. So this is my fast and easy brownie recipe. There are only 6 ingredients, really fun, really delicious. So let's get started. So what we're going to need is 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. This is also called plain flour in some countries. 3/4 cup of salted butter, and if you're using unsalted butter, you're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt to this recipe. 1 cup of chocolate chips, and I'm using semi-sweet chocolate chips in this recipe, but you can use any type of chocolate that you wish. 3 eggs, 1 cup of granulated sugar, and 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. So those are the ingredients, so let's get started. So I've set up my little hot plate here. This is exactly the same kind of element that you would have on the top of your stove. So I've got that going. I've got some water here, and to speed the process up, I've already put hot water in here. You just need a little bit. I'm going to grab a glass bowl and put that on top. And what this is going to do, it's going to gently heat our ingredients without actually burning them. So my first thing, I'm going to get my butter in there. I can take all of my chocolate chips and dump those right in.
and all of our sugar. So now what's going to happen is the hot water in our pot is going to start heating our bowl, and it's going to start melting all of our ingredients. So I'm going to let this go for a little while, and I'll come back before it's completely melted so you can see the process. So this is about 3 minutes later, and you can see that a lot of our butter has started to melt, and some of our chocolate chips, and a little bit of our sugar. And I can just get in there with a whisk. I'm not going to be using any electric mixer in this recipe. I'm just going to use our whisk. Very, very simple today. So I'm just going to let this go for a little while longer, and I'll come back in a bit. So this is about maybe 3 minutes later. Not very long later, and you can see everything is really starting to melt down. And as I am melting this, I just wanted to mention that you can add vanilla if you wish. In this recipe, I'd add about 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And if you don't want to use cocoa powder in this recipe and you want to go all chocolate chips, I would add in another ½ cup of chocolate chips to make up for that ¼ cup of cocoa powder. You can see this is really coming together. And another note is I want to make sure that everything is really, really melted well, because I don't want to have any of those little sugar granules left over. So by melting this down or heating it up, it's going to get this mixture really nice and smooth. So this is almost ready. I'll be back in about 2 minutes or so. So this is about 2 minutes later. Everything is really melted down well. I can turn my burner off, and we are ready to get on to the next step. So I've just removed this from my heating element, and it's quite hot at this moment. So what I want you to do is just let this sit here for about 15 minutes to cool down. At this time, you can break your eggs. I always like to break my eggs into separate bowls, so that I want to make sure that all of my eggs are good, none of them are bad. I don't want to get any shells in there either. And we're going to be adding in the eggs one at a time. So you can take that time to do that now. Also, at this point, you can preheat your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to let this cool for about 10 minutes, then I'll come back and we're going to finish off this really fast recipe. At this point, my mixture is still warm, but it's not boiling hot, so I'm good to go. I'm going to get my whisk moving around, and then I'm going to add in my first egg. I'll get that incorporated, and just keep mixing, because what that's doing is incorporating air. And by adding air, you're actually cooling down this chocolate mixture. We'll add another one. And our last one. So you can see how rich this is becoming, and the addition of those eggs has really brought this whole mixture together. And you're probably wondering, why didn't I add any baking powder to this? Well, if you start adding baking powder to this, it's going to take this from being a brownie and turning it more into a cake. A brownie is supposed to be very dense, so usually you don't see anything like baking powder or baking soda in the recipe. And then for our last step, we've got a sieve. I'm going to get all of our flour and our cocoa powder, and we'll just sift that right in. And if you were just putting flour in, then you can take the back of your hand and push it all through your sieve, but since that's cocoa powder, I'm just going to use the back of a spoon. Perfect. I'll grab my whisk one last time, and I'm just going to gently get all of this incorporated. And I do have my oven set to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to bake these for about 35 minutes in a 9x9 square pan. And if you want to use an electric mixer, feel free. Oh, can you see how rich this batter is?
Such a simple recipe, but it makes amazing brownies. And in case you're wondering, you can add walnuts to this. You can add pecans, anything you wish. I wish you could smell this. It smells so good. Look at this batter. Beautiful. And we are ready to put this in our pan. So right here I have a square pan, 9 by 9 inches square. It's lined with parchment paper. That is also called baking paper in some countries. It's optional. You don't need to use it, but it makes it really easy to get the brownies out. And if you don't use parchment, what you'll want to do is grease the pan, and then you're going to flour your pan. And whenever you're getting batter out of a bowl, it's good to use a spatula because you can get all of that stuff out of your bowl. You don't want to waste any. And that's good. I'll just grab my spatula and just get this into the corners. So if you're adding walnuts, you can actually add them in right now. You could sprinkle them on the top, or you could have mixed them in, you know, before you pour it into the baking pan. I think that's good. You can just tap it a little bit, just to even it out a little bit more. And then into my 325 degree oven, I'm going to bake these for about 35 minutes. And here we go. 35 minutes later, my brownies look really, really good. At this point, they're extremely hot, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to let these cool down, and then we'll cut into them. Now that our brownies have completely cooled, I'm just going to remove my little metal clips, which are oven safe. And just grab my parchment paper here, and I can just lift the brownies right out. So let's cut into these, and I'll just show you what they look like inside. Oh, look at that. Really, really moist. Hopefully the camera can pick that up. Super, super moist. Really nice and fudgy. Look at that. Oh, really, really nice. I'm gonna have to try a piece, of course. That is so good. Oh, that's really, really good. 6 simple ingredients, really, really easy, very fast, really, really yummy. Now for an optional step, we're going to cover these with some really nice dark chocolate. So I'm going to clean up, and I'll come back and we're going to do that next. Alright, I have cleaned up and we are ready to go with our optional step. So I've cut up some of my little brownies here. We'll just place them onto a little drip tray here, a cooling rack. We'll just get all these on here. And what I have here is some dark chocolate. Some really nice stuff. Now you have an optional step. You can actually take these and just take them upside down, give it a little dip, let it drip off, and place them like that. Or if you want a little bit more chocolate, I'm just going to move this one over so it's on my parchment. I got a little bit of parchment paper here. Let's just do one the other way. So if you want a little bit more chocolate, you just do it this way as well. It's all up to you. So you're going to have a little bit more dripping on the edges. But this is just as easy or easier.
So just a little dip. Let it drip off. Flip it back over. So we'll do another one. Dip, dip, dip. Drip it off. And our last one. And if you pop these into the fridge, you're going to get the chocolate really setting up nicely, and you'll have a little bit of a crunch on there as well, which is kind of nice. And there we have it. Okay, so let's just zoom in and check these out a little closer up. So I've just zoomed in for the final seconds of our recipe. I have my really nice chocolate brownie with that really nice dark chocolate on top. I hope you give these a try at home. They're super, super easy, really fun to do, and they are super yummy, I promise. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed my video, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you wish. I really do appreciate that. That's it, and I'll see you next time. Salted butter, 3 eggs, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour, 1/2 cup of cocoa powder, and 1 cup of chocolate chips. So those are the ingredients, so let's get started. For my first step, I have a little bit of water in a large pot on my stove element. I'm going to put my glass bowl on top of that. So the water in our pot is going to gently heat our bowl, and that's exactly what I want. I'm going to get in all of my butter, all of my chocolate chips, and all of my sugar. And now I am just going to let the water heat up. As it does, everything is going to start coming together, and I'll come back in a second when this starts to melt. Okay, so this is about 2 or 3 minutes later, and you can see that everything is really nicely starting to melt here. So I just want to get it all moving around a little bit so I can expose some of the other ingredients that haven't been heated to the bottom of the bowl. Just move it around. And that's good. So we'll just let that go for a little bit longer, and then I'll come back. So a couple minutes later, and this is really starting to melt down. This is a really simple recipe because it basically does all itself. You just put it on your stove over a low water, and it just does all the magic on its own. And that looks good. I'm going to turn my element right off. Just mix the rest of this in. This will all completely melt down, and then we are on to the next step. So this is about 2 minutes later. I've just cleaned up my area and we are ready to go. So very important, you're going to grab your whisk. You can use either a whisk or an electric mixer, and just keep your chocolate mixture all moving. And then we're going to grab all of our eggs. So we're going to start egg number 1, and I want to keep the mixture moving. Okay, this is incorporating air and making sure that the egg is not going to start curdling in here. So I'm moving it around. Egg number 2. And as I add the eggs in, the whole temperature of this is dropping now. And then egg number 3. So have your eggs ready to go before you start this step. And all of a sudden you can see this is getting really nice and thick. That looks good, and it smells really good. So mix it up well. Okay, and then we're going to add in our last ingredients. I'm going to add in our cocoa powder. And you can see why we sift. You can see all the little pieces in there. And then my flour. I'll get that in. I'll grab the back of a spoon and just push all of that through. Perfect. And then I'm going to grab my whisk and I'm just going to slowly start whisking all of this together. You can use an electric beater if you wish as well. So don't rush this step. Just start in the middle. It'll all start incorporating. Go nice and easily. Go nice and easy because you don't want everything puffing up and going all over the place. And then start making your circles a little bit larger to start incorporating all of the outer edges. Just like that. So once everything is nicely combined, we are ready to fill our pan. What I'm using today is an 8-inch square parchment lined pan for our brownies. And then we're just going to get our really nice batter right into here. So make sure you're using a spatula to make sure you get everything out of your bowl. Oh, this smells so good. There we go. And I'll just push it to the sides. You just want to have it nice and even. And that looks good. You can tap it if you wish. And then into my 325 degree oven for 35 minutes. So my brownies have been cooling about a half an hour right now. I baked them exactly 35 minutes at 325 degrees Fahrenheit. I've got a little spatula and I just want to go around the edges here where I don't have the parchment paper, just to make sure that we get a clean break. And that's good. Remove our little metal clips. And then a nice gentle pull. Always make sure that it's going to break out nice and easily. And there we have it. Oh, and this smells really good. So at this point, you could just cut these up and eat them like that. But today I'm going to frost them over with a little bit of milk chocolate. So I'll set up for that and I'll be back in 1 second. I have a little bit of milk chocolate that I heated up in my microwave. I'm just going to get some of this on here. Grab a little offset spatula. I'll just get this over the top. This is totally optional, but it is nice. Okay, that looks good. And then for a last optional step, I have some pecans here, and I'm just going to sprinkle those over the top. And another optional step, but it's nice. You can also use walnuts, and I could have put them into the batter as well, but I didn't today, but you can do that as well. And that looks good, just like that. So I'm just going to let my chocolate set up. I'll come back in about 15 minutes. I'm going to cut into it and show you what it looks like. So this is about 20 minutes later. My chocolate is starting to set up and I can't wait any longer. So let's cut into these. Let's see the inside. Oh, look at that. Well, that looks awesome. Get a little knife. Oh, wow. Really dark. Let me zoom in a little bit. So I've just zoomed in a little bit just to show you a little bit better. Hopefully the camera can pick up how dark and how fudgy these are. Of course, I'm going to have to try a little piece. Oh wow, really good. Well, these are really super fudgy. Look at this. Super, super moist. Really, really nice. Wow. Let me just turn these around just to show you what the inside looks like. So there we have it. A really fast video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you wish. I really do appreciate that. That's it for today, and I'll see you next time. Oh wow, those are good.